Are you worried you might have a toxic work environment? Hi, I'm Dr. Leanne Davey, and I'm going to help you think through the situation that you're facing to determine whether your situation is toxic or not. Let's go through the 5 different categories of toxic workplaces. Now, don't think you have to have all 5 of these be true for your work environment to be toxic. Not at all. Even one of these categories, if it's bad enough, can classify your workplace as completely bad for your health. But I want to share all of them with you so you have a sense of what the possibilities are. The first category of toxic work environments is situations where the organization's policies and procedures, the official written rules of the organization, are bad for your physical or psychological well-being. Some of them really are physical. The work environment is unsafe. Maybe there's threats to your safety right in the environment. There are poisons, there are toxins, there are things falling from the sky. Maybe it's just that the work environment is backbreaking or unhygienic, or there's no privacy. But if your physical space and the environment you're in threatens your physical or psychological safety, that's toxic. There are other ways that the official rules and policies and realities of your organization may be toxic to you. That's things like discriminatory practices where women, people of color, people with various disabilities, or people who are LGBTQ, it may be that there are groups in your organization who are either officially or quietly discriminated against in your organization. If there are those kinds of discriminatory practices, well, first of all, it's illegal, but it's certainly toxic. Another way that your organization's policies and processes may be toxic is in how things are scheduled in your work environment. It may be that you have to work exceedingly long shifts or overnight, things that are disrupting your sleep or causing you to have to work while very fatigued. That can be incredibly unsafe. It's also possible that it's just in your company's policies of their compensation, their rewards, their benefits, that you can't even earn a living wage, or what it takes to earn a living wage is working far too many hours or in a way that's just not conducive to your well-being. Or it's just that their policies are completely unfair, and what you make for your job is nothing compared to what other people are making for work of equal value. Those sorts of things in the rules are toxic. So you should consider your organization's policies and processes and procedures in deciding whether you're in an unhealthy workplace. A second category of unhealthy work environment, or even toxic work environments, is one where you have a toxic culture. The culture isn't so much about the explicit official rules of the company, it's about those unspoken rules, the ones that everybody follows. An unhealthy, toxic culture can look differently in different places, but it might be that the organization has just incredibly high expectations and standards that no one could even meet. We've certainly seen in the news situations where companies have quotas that are so high that the culture is to just cheat the system. We've seen places where there's a culture of toxic positivity where you have to pretend that everything is going fine when it's not. Anyone who followed the Theranos trial knows a lot about a toxic positive culture. There's also places where yelling and belittling and abusing people is not only tolerated but almost condoned as part of the, either the Wall Street culture or the Silicon Valley culture. Or passive aggressive cultures where nobody says anything to your face, but what's going on at the water cooler is certainly unhealthy. So if you have a culture that makes it okay for people to behave badly, well, that can be incredibly bad for you over the long term. Another category of toxic cultures is places where you have a toxic boss. It might not be your organization that's the issue at all, just your little part of the organization. Toxic bosses are incredibly bad for us because over time they can not only wear us down and create daily stress that's bad for our mental and our physical health, but at some point they can even leave you questioning, is it me that's the problem here? And when a boss starts to cause you to question your own self-esteem or self-worth, that's incredibly toxic. Now, I'm not going to go into every way that a boss can be toxic because in the description I've provided a full catalog of the 11 different types of toxic bosses and what you can do if you find yourself working for one of those. Regardless of what kind of toxic boss you have, if you have a boss that's making you feel upset, angry, stressed, poorly about yourself, well, that's a toxic situation and one that you need to deal with. Another category of toxic work environment comes from your colleagues. If you have colleagues who make you feel that you're not a part of the team, who you whisper and gossip about you, who roll their eyes, or go to the boss trying to throw you under the bus, well, that is a very toxic situation. They may hoard knowledge so that they can get the plum assignments, or they may just not include you in any of the social goings on and leave you feeling like you don't belong on the team because of their inner circle. Regardless of what exactly it looks like, if you're in a situation where your coworkers either mean that you can't succeed and do your job well, or can't feel like you're a part of something and that you're connected to a team, well, that can be really bad for you and something you need to take action on, probably in the midterm. Finally, it might not be your organization that's the problem at all. Increasingly, we're seeing situations where it's the customers that are toxic. People have become so impatient. They have incredibly ridiculous expectations and standards, and they're not afraid to go screaming for the manager if they think they're not getting what they want. Well, maybe it's your customers that are wearing you down. And if that's the case, it's something really serious. Some customers make you feel physically unsafe. They're right up in your face or too close in your personal space. That is certainly not okay. Others just threaten you all the time and make you worry about what they're going to say to your boss, or there are so many ways in which our clients and customers can create an environment that's either physically or psychologically unsafe for us. And again, that's a really toxic situation. So there are 5 different ways that you may find yourself in a toxic work environment. It might be that the official rules of the organization, or even how the work is set up, are physically or psychologically unsafe or discriminatory. It may be that it's the culture, the norms, and the way people behave that's really, really unhealthy. But it might also be your boss or your coworkers, that it's really just a pocket on your team that's toxic, or that toxicity is coming from your customers. All of those things are situations you need to take incredibly seriously. In my next video, I'm going to take you through what are your options depending on which of those things is the problem in your work environment. But before we go there, I want you to consider 2 other options. I hear the term toxic workplace quite a lot, and people often jump to saying that their work environment or their situation is psychologically dangerous. Well, let me ask you, is it possible that rather than being dangerous, it's just a feeling of discomfort that your brain is picking up? Now, you see, our brains are here to keep us safe, to take in information from our environment and to give us the big alert, alert if something is wrong or threatening. But unfortunately, we don't see too many saber-toothed tigers anymore, so our brains tend to trigger on things that aren't always truly dangerous. So ask yourself, is it possible that what I'm experiencing as a toxic workplace is really just one that's pushing my boundaries a little, making me uncomfortable, but not necessarily toxic? Let's take a couple of scenarios for that. Some cultures in organizations are incredibly high performance, even bleeding edge. They are so far out in front, and they have crazy high expectations for how hard you work, how much you accomplish. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's toxic. It might be, but it is worth asking, is this just about me getting comfortable with being more productive, being more efficient, taking my game to the next level? Or is this truly a problem? Another situation I hear about a lot is people complaining that they don't feel safe because their work gets criticized. Well, again, in certain environments and in certain situations, criticizing your work is perfectly acceptable. What's not acceptable, of course, is belittling you. That's not okay. But a lot of what I see is people talking about the ideas, focusing really on making the work better, but we are so wedded to our work and so unaccustomed to getting constructive feedback that it feels dangerous. Our brains are triggering, telling us to run away, to fight or flee or freeze, when really what we have to do is learn how to take feedback well, how to actually have the skills to advocate for our own ideas. And if we built those skills, the skills of difficult conversations, we'd be in a much better position to find that environment enriching as opposed to something that's wearing us down. So it's worth asking all those hard, uncomfortable situations that you're experiencing in your organization. Is it really danger, or is it just a little discomfort? The final thing to ponder before deciding whether you're in a toxic environment or not is whether there might not be anything toxic in your environment, only something toxic in the stories you're telling yourself. And unfortunately, this happens more often than you'd think. Take another couple of examples. I often hear people like, well, I can't say anything. I can't raise an issue or disagree. And I'll ask, okay, tell me more about that. What gives you that impression? They'll say, well, I haven't worked here long enough, or I don't have enough experience, or I'm not the expert. So I'll just ask, what has caused you to believe that your contribution is not valid or not worthy? And there's actually no objective evidence. It's their own imposter syndrome. It's all the times their nasty narrator has told them, you can't say that, or who are you to say that? It's not any feedback they got from their boss or their colleagues. So it's possible that part of your toxic work environment is just your toxic inner monologue. Similarly with how you feel about your teammates. Are they giving you objective, real evidence that you're not one of the team or they don't value you? Or are you refraining from contributing, worried about rocking the boat or worrying they won't like you? And what they're thinking is, well, she's not contributing much to this equation. And if you'd actually stood up to them and shared your perspective, instead of them disliking you, they might respect you a lot more. So that third possibility is that it's not necessarily your work environment that's toxic at all. It's just the stories that you're telling yourself are what's doing you the harm. Everyone deserves to work in a place where they can do good work, make a meaningful contribution, be paid a living wage for it, and have the chance to feel a part of something and a group that's bigger than themselves. And many of us don't feel that way and don't experience it. If you are feeling like your work environment may be toxic, take it seriously, think through each of the 5 different criteria, and then consider whether instead of psychological danger, what you might be feeling is discomfort, and adding a few new skills might reframe completely how you're feeling about your work. I'm Dr. Leanne Davey, and I'm here to help you get the work environment that you deserve. Thanks so much for tuning in, and check out my other videos for how-tos on dealing with some of the situations that come up when we're trying to make teamwork work.